Welcome back, everybody. It's Dren608 with the next turn of the Civil War by Victory Games, designed by Eric Lee Smith. We are going into turn 17. The Union is, just to give a quick recap, the Confederates had 121 ships sunk, so that's 4 victory points. If they can get 1, 2, 3, they get 4 or more ships sunk, they'll be at 5 victory points. So we'll assume that they're going to get that. That would make them be at 5. Plus 4 permanent victory points for my mistake early in the game around Washington. So I would give them a plus 9. They're going to get at least 1 table shift, table use. That'll put them up to 36. Plus 9 would put them at 45. I am at 87. 45 to 87 is a 42-point split. So I need to get an 8 points, and then if he gets more than 1 table use, an extra point for every table use that he pulls. So, yeah, there's not a lot of victory points lying around for me to just march off and capture. They're not. It's not like I'm right next to him because I'm sitting in New Orleans and all sorts of stuff. So, going to be a tense game, tense turn. We'll see if the Union can pull it off. The Confederates are down to 8 open ports. You'll see me. I put this other open ports in this thing here. This one. This represents the Trans-Mississippi, and this represents the open ports. You'll also see on the game track I've put in the CSA production and imports have gone way down into the 50s. The Trans-Mississippi is at 13, so or at 17. So they have terrible supply problems over there. But then again, they don't have but 1 strength point to really do anything with it at Alexandria, Louisiana. So yeah, let's get started here. Oh, and then the first thing I realized is when I went into Shreveport, that is also the border hex of Texas. So I had entered Texas, and I should have taken a militia for Texas. I say Dallas, I meant Marshall. Or I could throw it like down in Sabine. If I put it in Marshall, he's got to leave something behind to defend Shreveport. So if he goes marching off on Alexandria, try and get a conversion or something out of Louisiana this turn, there'd be a chance that I could attack maybe at a 0 and get him to retreat or something silly like that. So he's got to leave something behind. And I choose Marshall. Should have been Marshall in the previous sentence. And that's where I put the militia. Now I take the militias off this militia thing that the CSA has. I take these counters off, set them wherever I'm going to set the point, and then I put a real infantry point there rather than having this floating around. And I'm not sure if I'm supposed to do it that way or not. I'm not really sure what the point of this was. The thing I don't like about this is all he has is the Confederate state militia. He does not have the Union state militia. Because if the CSA runs into Illinois, I get a militia in Illinois. I get a militia in Indiana. I get a militia in Ohio. I get a militia in Pennsylvania, I believe, as well. Although that might be one of the ones that was actually activated. I think it's like Delaware and New Jersey. I know Maryland's been used, and I think Pennsylvania is listed as one of the states that's already had its militia started out. But the Union's supposed to get militia too if the CSA comes running across the Ohio somehow. So that's just me. All right. No surprises. The Union's the only place they've got victory points they can get in a plenty is in the east, or in the west rather. I almost switched to the primary for the east to try and pick up these two here, pick up Lynchburg, and see if I couldn't run around and grab maybe take a long run at someplace down in North Carolina, or swing around and grab Petersburg, and then. But I thought there was more points for me to get in the west, and I do need a lot. And then here's me getting my commands. I needed to pick up like an extra discretionary or a trans point so that I could I needed to have two in one of those things so I could actually march Hooker, so I'm kind of messed up there. And the CSA gets a bunch. I forgot to put... I went back and I forgot the Shenandoah actually comes in on turn 17. So the CSA will have the ability to put them on the board for the future if they can get up to two, just get up their discretionary points to be able to add it. Alabama rolled 9, so he's up at 130, but it should be 129. I added one too many, but I think in the end, when you add up the total at the end, they would be. It's not like they're right on the line, so it doesn't really matter. So you get 4 and plus 7 to the Trans-Mississippi. So they had 8 production and 8 points, 13 at 40%. So they're at 16. Pod was 5. Okay. Total 17. There we go. And 53 and 8 points at 40%, which is 5, so they're at 58. I did a cross check for my victory points. Conversions of Missouri, Kentucky, West Virginia, Mississippi, and Arkansas is worth 31. That's 6, 7, 5, 7, and 6. And I have all those victory points, so plus another 31 puts me at 62. And then all the other stuff I own, in Louisiana I have 7 because I picked up New Orleans. Alabama, New Orleans and Shreveport. Alabama, 3, because I think I grabbed Selma. Is that what I did in Alabama? Let's go over here and look at Alabama. Yeah, I picked up Selma, and I had Decatur. Tennessee is 9, finally. I had Memphis and the Ironworks for the longest time, and I finally picked up... here's where I fixed it. You'll see here, I put the 2... I came back and I thought about this. I went back through my logs when I was looking at this, and I'm like, how can I have a guy here and I don't have flags on here? What's going on? I went back and I never actually moved through this. When I brought the Army of the Cumberland across, I took the Ironworks, ran up here, blew away the guy in Bowling Green, and I thought about going here, and I decided to go over here to try and outflank Johnston and Nashville, and I never ever marched anybody through these 2 hexes. So those have been Rebel Railroad hexes for a long time. Kind of like these 2 here in eastern or western Tennessee. I just never have the points to have Howard just walk up there and grab them. I just can't get around to doing it. So, and I don't have a 2-point cavalry leader that I can send over there to do it either. So I'm just kind of like, yeah, one of these days I'll get around to it. Anyway, so, and then there's 2 in Florida, because that's what Jackson's worth. North Carolina, I have 2 1-pointers. And Virginia, I picked up 2 1-pointers. So I have 87. CSA has 44 right now. Get at least 1 more for the table use, so that's 45 minimum. So, yeah, I said 8. It's more like 10. So here we go. And of course, the first split starts off. Yeah. What am I doing? Oh, I had some leaders that got promoted last turn. I forgot to put them on the board. And I did the same thing with the CSA over here. I forgot to put all their leaders. They've got 10 leaders. Because the leaders in the Army went onto the turn track. So there's a bunch of leaders for everybody to take. Oh, and I forgot to give myself my reinforcements. There we go. +1 differential. I took a leader in the Army of the Potomac. Picked a leader. So it's Reynolds. He ends up over here in the Army of the Cumberland because it's his promotion counter. Oh yeah, and here I talk about the 2 rail hexes in Bowling Green or whatever, so I've fixed that. And then I had foot. Just move up to Baton Rouge. CSA takes leader in the Army of Virginia. We got their 10th leader. And we tied on a 5. Ouch. So we got a whole bunch more commands. And then back to a 3-point differential. Free leader in the Army of Tennessee. I had already taken the 10th leader, so I had to roll again. I took another leader in Atlanta. I moved the leader that was in Atlanta over to Bobby Lee, and then I took my last leader in Atlanta. Why does this thing do this? I moved Burnside out to go over here so that he could actually move like infantry down that line. Or maybe Stoneman, either one's cost 3. And then I put Grierson, gave him a cavalry point, and said, run, Grierson, run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that cuts the rail line to Atlanta from Chattanooga. Now, I asked this question on Board Game Geek, and the consensus was, yes, if you're at the 3 hex tracing range for supply, that means from depot to depot as well. I did not play that way in this game. I played that the trace from supply depot to supply depot was still 4 hexes, and that the other one was just how much it could get to the troops is the reduced hex to 3 hexes for your supply. It seems to be that most people say no, it's 3 hexes for the chains as well. I'm not sure. It's one of those. It's not specifically clearly stated in the rules, but it would make sense, I guess, that if the transport's bad getting to the troops, it should be bad all the way through the line. I've also thought about it the other way. It's like there's no enemy interference, so those 4 hexes are just fine. It's when you're trying to actually get it up to the troops that you have trouble keeping up with the troops. But so played this wrong, according to the people on Board Game Geek. So, but I went into it and I made my decision, sort of at the table and said, nope, it's only the trace from the guys to the first supply depot in the chain. The chains just stay fine. And let's see, I'm doing something. Oh yeah, that was me moving Grierson. And then we had a 4 differential, right? How were we at on commands? Now we still have tons of commands. So there's a 4-point differential for the Union. Took my free point in the Army of the Cumberland. And then I saw something. I went, look, Foot can invade Monroe. I don't have to move, what's his name, Hooker. I didn't have to move Hooker out of Shreveport to try and march back across, because this is all navigable river right up to Monroe. And I was like, just do that. So 3 strength points along with 4 river transports. Oops. It's 1 for the hex and 1 for the cities equal to 2. He's got 3 strength points and 2 more because of the what do you call them? The transports. It's 4 transports divided by 2. So it's 5. So it's a 2-to-1. And +1 for foot. I got a net 6, which was a D2. He got a 3, which is a no effect because he's on the small table. So I take Monroe. And Foot manages to not get himself killed. Keep trying to kill my naval leaders here. And then and then I built a fort for the what I had done is my 4th point down here at the foot. Did I do that? Okay, Sherman picked up. He can bring up to 6 naval strength points, but I wanted to leave 1. Or did I bring them all? No, I left 1 ironclad there just to help kind of cut off the river in case he decided to come raiding. And then I moved a bunch of ironclads up here so that Foot would have a decent invasion force. Since you can only move once per pulse, I can't move Foot down there and come back. I was trying to get it there few number of pulses as possible. And that's me straightening out some river transports up in Cairo, I think. Did I move twice in this? No, that must have been... That was actually part of my last move. Because it was supposed to be Sherman was supposed to move up there after the invasion with the stuff, so that at the beginning of this one, we would have Sherman would have been stacked up with him for the invasion this turn. Okay. I got my notes a little bit out of it. So I take 3 strength points, 3 transes, and the 3 IC and Sherman against Alexandria. CSA is 1 for the hex, 1 for the strength point, 1 for the fort, 1 for the city. So he's 4. The Union is 3 strength points plus 3 transports, which equal a 1, plus 3 IC, 2 is for 7, or 6 if the fort hits. So, fort fires, and sinks the Iron City. So it's 6-4, it's the +2 column, and it's +3 for Sherman and Foot. I get a net 5, which is a D1. Medium force attacking. And he rolled a 6. He had a D1 as well, but it repulses the attack. This is the new WGA clarification of the rules. Even though I killed the strength point that's there, you have to, if your retreat priority is I eliminated the enemy, you have to include the garrison point for the hex. So you have to get rid of 2 points if there's a unit actually in the hex, but that's only if the retreat priority is I defeated all the enemy, which is what this one would have been. D1 and D1, I eliminated his strength point. He took 1 of mine. We both would be demoralized, but he still has a nominal strength point in the hex, so that you can't consider it. It's a disadvantage to put a strength point in a hex than to not. This makes it a reason to put a strength point in the hex, is that now you have to get a D2 or get a better result than the defender. And in all my other combats so far, I've always gotten like a D2 or something ridiculous like that, or a D1 to a no effect. So I have won it on other retreat priorities. This is the first time where it would have been the only retreat priority that would let me take the hex, is that I defeated the entire enemy. And I did not, because the garrison piece is still sitting there. So they send me home. And the CSA, 3 points in the west. I wanted to build a depot. Oh, my other point is to move that that ironclad I had in New Orleans. I went ahead and moved it up there. And CSA built a depot in Atlanta. We end up with a 4-die differential. The CSA, unfortunately, is running out of points to do stuff. And then they built a fort in Atlanta and took a leader in Mobile. So I spent 2 points in the Trans-Mississippi to remove the desperation morale on my troops. Sherman rallies the troop, and I forgot to roll last time, so I rolled those. And there. I checked 6-4. The 4s on Sherman. Made a note of that. And then when I come after the fort this time, it misses. And now he's 1 for the hex, 1 for the city, and 1 for the fort, so he's only a 3. And the Union is 2 strength points and 3 transports, which is equal to 1. And 3 IC, which is equal to 3. So now it's a grand total of 6 to 3, or 2 to 1. Column J plus 3. Rolled a net 7 is a D2. They rolled a 3, which is no effect. Alexander falls, and barring a miracle, not AR, that's LA. Louisiana's going to convert. Checks were okay. And now we go to die differential, comes way down. Take a leader in the Army of the Potomac. I'm not sure if that actually stays in the Army of the Potomac or if it's a promotion leader. It's Ord. I think Ord is over here in my own hex. Take my last leader there. And then they took a leader in Charleston. I had 2 hoods, and I got the higher ranked one, so I got rid of the other one. Then we rolled. Took a leader in Wilmington, leader in Norfolk. Trying to hang on to my commands, waiting for the Union attack here. Oh yeah, I didn't have a leader to pull because I forgot SD Lee was also promoted. So I had to send a strength point somewhere. And I moved some leaders around with my command points. And I realized I had a promotion leader in the wrong place, and he should have been in the Army of the Cumberland. Grant reinforces. This is me talking about that supply thing that I was talking about earlier. I played it as it was only to the initial point. So then I spent a point and got Sherman back to his army so that he can go marching off to the east. Alright, so now I had a problem here. got Sherman back, and then I started to move Grant over here in the east, I think. And I was trying to think of what I should do with Bobby Lee. And it looks like, what did I do? Okay, so I decided to give up the 2 strength points of Hindeman because I was like, if I reacted into Hindeman's space, Grant would be between me and Richmond. If he goes first again, he could get himself undemoralized and basically put himself between me and Richmond, which would be bad for the Army of Northern Virginia, because then I would have problems getting supply and all sorts of terrible, horrible things. So I gave up the 2 strength points. Probably shouldn't. And then when Grant came back to that hex, I said, okay, now I'm going to go there because he can't just run away from me and go run into like Richmond or something. Grant goes ahead and moves towards Richmond. Then I put Sheridan out here. And he went 1, 2, 3, 4. I realized I couldn't move into that hex because it's got a border running through it with an unneutralized Alabama hex. So I just had to take that railroad and move south. Oh yeah, and then the CSA said, yeah, let's get that other raider out there. Those are free points. And okay, now I'm moving the Army of Northern Virginia again. We got to come over here. Look at this. Bobby Lee. I picked up the 2 points from Hindeman before I started to move. And then I go 1, 2, 3, and 4 into Richmond. That lets me, Lee comes across one of those rivers, I can actually react and give him a shift down. Otherwise, he's got to fight me in the fortress. If he tries to run around behind me, I can react into Petersburg. I can react, across the various rivers. So, it seemed like a good place to be. And then I just put all the strength points in the army just to save my brain. I think we're getting low here. Yeah, the CSA is starting to run out of commands. Whoops, what did I do? I resized it there. CSA is starting to run out of commands here at Pulse 9. They don't have a lot that they can do because the Union hasn't attacked and made me use like depots or anything, so. And then the Union gets a big split. So I went ahead and spent 3 in the east on Burnside. I had moved him. Yeah. I had moved Burnside over to West Virginia a while back with a leader move, one of those 1 point differential things I didn't know what to do with. I sent Burnside over here, and then he moves down here to pick up 2 more points in Virginia, which was the whole point of that. And then Van Dorn, I moved him out to Cat Paw at Sedgwick. Looks like another 3-point differential, this time to the CSA. And that makes them use up all their commands. And then Sherman comes marching out. I had sent Sedgwick had gone through the, or not Sedgwick, Sheridan had gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 into that hex because I knew that Sherman would go 1, 2 the swamp, 3, 4 through the clear weather and end up there, and then he'd be back in the army. And I get most of my rail line cleared. I have 1 more hex to get through. And 1 strength point. I think I was dividing up some strength points in Washington, thinking I was going to march some. Union move Sherman. Strength point to Washington. We're down to a 1-point differential. And there's no tie here, so oh, I thought I could rail something down to Louisiana, but I couldn't. So he got 2 more uses out of the table. We don't have anybody under desperation morale. We all managed to get our stuff off our guys. Resetting some stuff there. And then I did a victory point. At this point, I actually did the manipulation of the victory points to see where they would be. So I added 4 to his table use, put that back down to 0. So he's at 41. And then he has 4 permanent and 5 ships sunk. So he actually would be up to 46. So CSA is at 46. Union victories by state. So they got 6 in Missouri, 7 in Kentucky, 5 in West Virginia, 6 in Arkansas, 7 in Mississippi, 9 in Louisiana, which is equal to grand total of 40. I think my math, 13, 20, 31, 40. And each of those states is also converted at this point, so that's another 40. So I'm at 80 base. And then I had 9 in Tennessee, 3 in Alabama, 2 in Florida, 2 in North Carolina, and 4 in North Virginia. Because I picked up the 2 sites. So that was 20 more. So that was a total of 100. $54. So the conversion of Louisiana is what saved me. So now you can see where if I had had an army in being where I could have run around and tried to snatch something like Baton Rouge or some silliness like that, that might not have happened. And if that had not happened, the Union would not have been 50 points ahead of me, and the game would have ended now. Instead, the Union gets 2 more turns to try and get themselves up to 75 different. So they've got to pick up 21 more net points over the next 2 turns. In turn 18 and 19, which is a very tall order. But that's turn 17. The Union squeaked out a continuation of the war. Okay. It's getting interesting. I know what I picked, and now I'm thinking I picked incorrectly for the Union as to what I should have done on the next 2 turns. But that's hindsight. Hindsight's always 20/20. So anyway, that was turn 17. The game will go on for 2 more turns. I will get those vlogs put together and get up some videos for those in a little bit. Until we meet again, stay safe and bye-bye.